Hi, shalom friends. I'm sure you're familiar with the concept of a mission statement. So let's say, for example, you're a factory that's producing shoes. Your mission statement might be something to the effect, our mission statement is to provide good quality leather shoes for the average person, or something to that extent. Now, what's the value of that is that you won't go off the track. You won't suddenly decide to do custom designed boots for the very rich, because that's not in your mission statement. Some very wise people have suggested that there be mission statements for families. What does this family stand for? You know, to brainstorm together with your children or your spouse, what would your family like to stand for, and then to write it down. So with all of the heated rhetoric of the 2020 election, I was thinking, is there a mission statement to be an American? And if there would be a mission statement, what would that mission statement say? And I came up with something very simple, like it would go along the lines, my mission statement is to be a law-abiding citizen. I would like to be a productive member of society and espouse democratic views of equality and dignity to all, or something to that effect. Right. It certainly wouldn't say in my mission statement that I will vote a certain party, whether Republican or Democratic or independent or whatever, would not be part of my mission statement. It's something as being a citizen of America, that's something that I will express. My right and perhaps obligation to let the federal government or the city government know how they can best serve me. But certainly voting a certain party line is not part of the mission statement. Is there a mission statement for a Jew? If there was, it would be something to the effect like, yes, I will be a law-abiding Jew. I will follow the dictates of the Torah. We would go a step further. I will do my best to convey godliness to this world and to partner with God in perfecting this world. That's a mission statement. Certainly, as a Jew, to whom I will go voting for is not part of the mission statement. So when I hear this tremendous rhetoric and animosity, and people based on a political affiliation find it difficult to associate with people of another political association, something just doesn't jive. Something sounds very un-American about this, and it's certainly very un-Jewish. I mean, could you imagine, I ask you, if you need 10 Jews to start to do a prayer quorum, are we going to say only if they vote from this party? But if they're voting to a party or espousing principles, political principles, which we vehemently disagree, oh, I cannot pray with these people. Silly, 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 bordering on the absurd. Your mission statement is to do your best as an individual to bring goodness and kindness in general to society, and as a Jew in a religious sense to bring about a divine awareness. Anytime, anytime we have an interference with that mission statement, we should understand that's not coming from a place of goodness at all. I want to round out this thought with an amusing story. They tell of in the days of old, not that long ago, but in Europe, many families wanted to have a Torah scholar in the family. So there was one family where the father was doing very well in business, had a wonderful daughter, very charming and beautiful, and would very much desire to have a son-in-law that was a bit of a scholar. Now, he thought ahead and realized that though his desire for a scholarly son-in-law was real, maybe the scholarly son-in-law would not want a father-in-law who's a complete ignoramus. So he used to be very publicly, he would come to the Talmudic class given by the rabbi 2-3 times a week. He would always sit and nod and then keep the book open and laugh when everyone laughed and never said a word. And people would figure he's just very shy, but after years of studying the Talmud, he probably knows a fair amount of it. The truth is, he understood nothing of the Talmud, but he just wanted to give the appearance because he truly respected people that studied the Talmud. But he did pick up some vocabulary, and there was one particular vocabulary that he liked. It was in Aramaic, and it was lamai nafkamina, which means, what's the difference? Because every once in a while, the rabbi would say, so this rabbi said this rabbi said that, and according to this and that, but what's the difference? And he liked that expression. Anyway, fast forward, the prospective young man comes, we'll call him Shimon. Shimon comes, meets the possible father-in-law, and while waiting for the young lady to come, he figures, I'll start a Talmudic conversation with the father to impress him. And he says to his prospective father-in-law, I prepared a little passage of Talmud. I'd like to share it with you. And of course, he puts on the right thing, please, by all means. And he gives like a 10-minute spiel about Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Meir. There's this agreement, but he thought of a way to resolve it. And he's hoping that his father-in-law or future father-in-law will enjoy it, but he sits there impassively and he says, "L'may nafkamina," but what difference does it make? So he thinks, wow, this, he has a point. I just explained a disagreement between the two great rabbis, but what difference does it really make? He says, well, actually, the difference would be, and he goes, another 10-minute digression about Jewish law, that if we use this idea, the conclusion will be that, but if we use his conclusion, the result will be that. Father-in-law is listening, and he says, no, and the father-in-law says, but l'may nafkamina, what's the difference? He says, wow, this guy's really deep. He's thinking. Well, actually, and he gives another whole spiel from a 10-minute discussion, it turned into close to 40 minutes. And after each time, when he's waiting for an acknowledgement, the father-in-law says, "L'may nafkamina," what's the difference? So finally he says, I don't understand what's bothering you. You keep on asking me, what's the difference? What do you mean? I told you the difference in their ideology. I traced it back to their way of thinking, and there's a practical change in Jewish law. Why do you keep saying, l'may nafkamina, what's the difference? He says, you didn't understand. When I said l'may nafkamina, I meant to say what's the difference of talking to me or talking to the wall? We both don't understand. L'may nafkamina, what's the difference? I want to ask you a question. You have to keep the Sabbath. You have to give charity. You have to do homework with your children. Is it going to make a difference whether Biden or Trump wins? Is that going to really make a difference in your life? L'may nafkamina, what's the difference? Of course, there are differences and fundamental differences, and who knows what might happen. But I'm asking you, in your mission statement, your job is to be either a law-abiding citizen who's going to treat a fellow citizen and stranger decently. And as a Jew, your job is to do Torah, to do mitzvahs, to be good to your parents, be good to your wife, good to your children, good to your husband. Give charity, study Torah, think positive, convey optimism. What in the l'may nafkamina? What's the difference? But it's an election. You know what's more important than this election? What's more important than the election of who's going to be the president is, do you elect tomorrow to do good deeds? Do you elect to keep this Shabbat? Do you elect to act kind and generous? I guarantee you, if you elect to do what is proper and fitting, you will be backing a victor. Shalom.